Good day, everyone. We are still Group 1 and we're about to present the Chapter 5 of our research paper, which is Summary, Recommendation, and Conclusion. The objectives of this chapter was first, understand the following terms: summary, recommendation, and conclusion. The second is formulate recommendation based on conclusions. And lastly, present a furnished copy of the research paper. So, this is the last chapter of the thesis and the most important part because this is where the findings and the whole thesis, for that matter, are summarized. Generalizations in the form of conclusions are made, and the recommendations for the solutions of problems discovered in the study are addressed to those concerned. So the conclusion should clarify concepts defined within the scope of the study. Moreover, it should explain the relationship of the variables under study. Most importantly, it should answer all questions raised by the researchers. Ethically, the researchers should give the true findings of study. The researchers are not supported to fabricate results to achieve the desired conclusion. Instead, the researchers should prove or disprove the relationship of the variables based on the findings of the study. Casella and Cuevas, 2010. Next slide. Summary of findings. General guidelines in writing the summary of findings. Number 2. Subtitles of the summary of findings should follow the statement of the problem. Only average or means and final values should be mentioned. Third, there should be a brief statement about the main purpose of the study, the population or respondents, the period of the study, method of research used, the research instrument, and the sample design. Four, the findings may be lumped up altogether, but clarity demands that each specific question under statement of the problem must be written first to be followed by the next slide. By the findings that would answer it. The specific questions should follow the order they are given under the statement of the problem. And lastly, the findings should be textual generalizations. That is a summary of the important data consisting of text and numbers. Every statement of fact should consist of words, numbers, or statistical measures woven into a meaningful statement. No deductions, nor inference, nor interpretation should be made, otherwise it will be only duplicated in the conclusion. In addition, in addition, Summary of findings table represents the key information about the most important outcomes of a treatment, including the best effect estimate and the certainty of the evidence for each outcome. That's it. Next reporter, please.
Guidelines in Writing the Conclusion by Calderon and Gonzalez 2008. First guideline, conclusion should be logically written presenting the valid outgrowths of the findings. Conclusion should have inference, deduction, abstraction, implication, interpretation, general statement, and or generalization based on the findings. Dapat hindi ka magpa-fabricate ng mga results, dapat naka-base ka sa mga findings na nakuha nyo based sa mga nakuha nyo mga data. Second, conclusion should appropriately answer the specific question raised at the beginning of the investigation in the order they are given under the statement of the problem. Dapat nasasagot ng conclusion yung mga tanong sa ating statement of the problem dahil ito yung main focus natin. Third, conclusion should point out what we're factually learned from the inquiry. However, no conclusion should be drawn from implied or indirect effects of the findings. Fourth, conclusion should be formulated concisely, that is brief and short, yet the study as required by a specific question. Fifth, without any strong evidence to the contrary, conclusions should be stated categorically. They should be worded as if they are 100% true and correct. They should not give any hint that the researcher has some doubt about their validity and reliability. The use of quantifiers such as probably, perhaps, maybe, and like should be avoided. Next. Conclusion should refer only the population, area, subject of the study. Like for example, dapat nakapaloob lang dun sa scope and delimitation kung hanggang saan lang ba talaga yung pag-gather ng data, kung ano lang yung sasakupan ng research mo, dun ka lang dapat nakafocus. And last, conclusion should not be repetition of any statement anywhere in the research paper. They may be repetitions if necessary, but they should be worded differently and they should convey the same information as the statements recapitulated. Next reporter, please.
So here's the guidelines in writing recommendation. Number one, no recommendation should be made for a problem or anything for that matter that has not been discovered or discussed in the study. Recommendation for things na discussed in the study are relevant. So, meaning, walang recommendation ang dapat gawin para sa isang problema or anumang bagay na hindi pa natuklasan or tinalakay sa pag-aaral. Ang mga recommendation para sa mga bagay na hindi tinalakay sa pag-aaral ay walang kanayan. Second, there may also be recommendation for continuance for a good practice or system, or even recommendation for its improvement. This is to assure a continuous benefit of being accorded to the universe involved. Maaaring may mga recommendation din sa pagpapatuloy ng isang mahusay na kasanayan o sistema, o kahit na recommendation para sa pagbabuti nito. Third, recommendation should be aimed for the ideals for that must be feasible, practical, or and attainable. It is useless to recommend the possible. So it means po, ang mga recommendation ay dapat maghangad ng mga mithiin, ngunit ang mga ito ay dapat magagawa at practical at maaabot. Fourth, recommendation should be logical and valid. Hindi dapat malaman ito ng mga anumang numeral dahil karaniwang nililimitahan ang mga numeral ang malakas sa epekto o epekto sa saklaw ng isang generalization. 5. Recommendation should be addressed to the person, entities, agencies, or office who or which in the position to implement of them. 6. There should be a recommendation for further research on the same topic in other places to verify, amplify, or negate the findings of the study. This is necessary so that if the findings are the same, generalization or wider application can be formulated. Dapat ay maaaring recommendation para sa karagdagang pananaliksik at sa parehong paksa sa iba pang mga lugar upang i-verify, palakasin o pabayaan ang mga tuklasan ng pag-aaral. Ito ay kinakailangan din upang ang mga natuklasan ay pareho, ang mga generalization na mas malawak na application ay maaaring mabalangkas. Next reporter, please.
Next slide. Next slide, Be. Be.
Uy, saan na? Naglalag sa akin. Ano? Ayun ba?
Uy, yan. Listing references. At the end of any research work, a page must be provided to list down the references used during the research writing. Researchers need to acknowledge all the sources with their complete and correct information and format. It was mentioned previously, the citation and references must follow consistent style, whether they are in MLA, APA, and Chicago format. Referencing is an important part of a academic work. It puts your work in context, demonstrate the breadth and depth of your research, and acknowledges other people's work. You should reference whenever you use someone else's idea. References. This include a complete list of all quoted and paraphrased works that the researcher actually used in completing the study. While bibliography includes a complete list of all works related to the study but are not directly contained in the report. However, citing them is also important to provide a list for suggested or further reading which other researchers may use for their own research. Cazala and Cuevas 2010. A reference list contains only sources you have cited in text in your assignment. A bibliography is a list of all sources you use to generate your ideas about the topic, including those cited in your assignment as well as those you did not cite. Next reporter and next slide, please.
Reference list ba?
Alaga, wait lang. Reference list allows readers to locate and use sources you have cited. Reference information must be complete and accurate by including the following information in the reference entry: the author's name, year of publication, title of the work, and the publication information. Liddy and Ormord in Castle and Cuevas 2010. Next reporter, please.
Presenting the written research report. The final report is the document that ultimately represents the research. The report is the record of the research content, process, and analysis as reported by the researcher. It also serves as the scientific contribution of the researcher make about what is known about the social world. It, it can also act as a catalyst for further research. Kirby and others, year 2006. So it is a detailed presentation of research, processes, and findings. And it is usually includes tables and graphs. It is written in a formal language. The following considerations are important in presenting the written research report according to Kirby and others, year 2006. First, while the content will always be essentially the same for each audience, the emphasis on specific points and the way in which they are expressed will be different depending on the target audience. This report need not to be substantially different from drafts, except for participants have indicated that change is necessary. Third, it should begin with the statement of the beginnings of the research project and end with a summary section. Fourth, the summary section provides a description and explanation of the new knowledge discovered or the unique contribution that is research makes. Not too much detail is needed here. Simple answer the research questions and draw the conclusions. The final report can suggest some potential directions for further research and possibly what kind of policy or individual or group action might be required. And thus, the readers must be informed why this research counts and why is it important. So that's all for Summary, recommendation, and conclusion.